Hey YouTube, it's Brooklyn, and we are about to actually go on our ghost tour at 9 o'clock in St. Augustine. So luckily it's right across the street, so we only have to leave like, what, 20 minutes ahead of time?
Maybe.
Yeah, 5-minute walk, not even. Like 20 minutes. We rented a hotel like right in smack dab middle downtown of St. Augustine, and this should be pretty fun. So you're gonna see the clips in just a few minutes of the ghost tour, so we'll see you there. On our way to the ghost tour, just going to be wearing all black just for the aesthetic appeal of it. So we're gonna get going now. It's probably like about 5-10 minute walk. Not too horrible, not too shabby, so we are going to get going. Where is it? First Ouija board ever produced. Okay.
What are the odds of getting somebody's from the first cheating on me. I need a Hershey.
A little creepy.
This power goes out and they lock us in.
I don't know.
Mr. Cromwell's parlor of paranormal curiosities. Everything you see in this room is authentic and historic or supernaturally significant. The items were collected by their previous owners and locked away in this room in hopes of a better understanding of the unexplained and the supernatural world. Tonight, we will be embarking on a journey exploring the darker side of the nation's oldest city aboard the trolley of the doomed. Now, before we get started, there are some rules that I have to go over, and they are called the rules. So here are the rules. Hold everything dear to yourself inside the trolley, because if anything falls outside the trolley, we will not return to retrieve it. You have to mournfully wave bye-bye. Please remain seated at all times while the trolley is in motion. There will be absolutely no consumption of alcohol or smoking of any kind while you're on the trolley, unless you're smoking hot. Please refrain from, keep the voice levels minimum, and turn all your electronic devices on vibrate or silence out of respect of the neighbors next to you that may want to hear the stories. Now, in order for us to get out of this room, you have to solve a riddle. So, listen carefully, and it goes like this. I am not alive, but I bring you life, laughter, beauty, and strife. Though I don't speak, I cannot fail to captivate you with a tale. What am I? A book! Yeah.
Wow.
Our second stop will be the most haunted building in St. Augustine, the old jail. Now, these buildings are known to be active paranormal hotspots. There will be lots of storytelling along the way about the history and activities here in town. The conclusion that we give may not necessarily be the only explanation available. In some cases, the details have been altered to protect the privacy of the individuals involved. But in every case, the accuracy of what happened and the people's experiences have been preserved for more than 450 years. The rest is for you to decide. As we roll along tonight, there are some that do not share the same belief as the rest of us. They may try to cheer at us, or perhaps share their words of wisdom, such as boo. As your ghost host, I will shun them. I will point them out and I will shout, unbelievers! Now, Once I recognize these unbelievers, you will follow my call with a loud, be doomed. There's nothing like a good old-fashioned be dooming. Let's give it a try, shall we? Unbelievers! Be doomed. Very good. Let us begin. A supply ship sailed into the harbor in 1821 from Havana, Cuba. Normally, a supply ship was good news for the town, but not in this case. When they boarded, they discovered not one sailor survived, not even the captain. But supplies are supplies. So they pushed those fly-ridden corpses aside, opened those crates, and distributed those supplies. Those flies that were swarming around those corpses brought a gift to the town as well. Yellow fever. Before it was over, hundreds had succumbed to the yellow jacket. The Huguenot cemetery, coming up to your right, and I will point it out once we get closer, was the result of a desperate need to bury those fever victims. Mass graves were used because the death toll reached over a dozen a day. Be careful when you walk past this place. Some believe that those fever victims returned as apparitions, not realizing that they have passed on. And one such apparition is seen standing between the city gates before us, waving at the cars as they pass by. Some believe that she's the daughter of the gatekeeper, Elizabeth, who died of yellow fever. Many believe her to be a real person, but when they look more closely, she either disappears into the misty shadow of herself, becoming transparent, or unreal. If you're ever standing between those city gates and you feel a heaviness in the air, followed by a cold wind, be sure to say hello to Elizabeth, if you dare. Yeah. Are you ready to take some pictures? Do you know what you're looking for? Well, let's review. The type of ghost that you may capture on film. You have the eco mist, the vortex, the streaming energy, the shadow, apparitions, and orbs. Orbs are the most photographed anomalies captured on film, especially by ghost hunters. They are translucent, transparent balls of light that hovers above the ground and travel at a fairly fast rate of speed at the time of the flash, which proves its authenticity. And now you're getting ready to take pictures for your own curiosity and collection. In order to capture any paranormal, you must have your flashes on. Take pictures in threes. Flashes on. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. We will be disembarking here at the race. Trying to play a trick on us. But lo and behold, when they peered outside the tent, they saw a glowing female ghost with a long white dress hovering near them. They couldn't see her face, but they saw her long gray hair kind of cascading in the wind. As they could, telling everyone over and over again what they saw, trying to make sense of it all. Then suddenly, this sad man, he kind of pushed this way through the crowd and he ominously said, "Bro, do not pass the red road. You may stand on either side, in front of the shelving or in front of the counter, but is restless." The Spizegger brothers opened the drugstore in 1886. This was time when medicine and technology was emerging from its primitive origins. The bottles you see here on the shelves were mainly concoction of water, alcohol, and opium. Normally that's the crowd favorite. This building sits upon the Native American motto, which the locals love so much that they come to check regularly to make sure that its totem sits where it belongs. When this building first opened as a drugstore, bottles would mysteriously tilt over on the shelves, and the gas glass globes overhead would explode, permanently charring the ceiling. And this would happen during embalming. The embalmer would be so startled at times that bottles would spill over on the floor, making parts of the floor more shinier in some areas than others. This floor that you stand upon, there is a restlessness. Many stories about life and death here come from handwritten letters and journals, and those stories tells us about practices and terminologies that are still used today. Did you know that people were accidentally buried alive? Reports tells us about the inventions of safety coffins. Now imagine waking up from a coma in a wooden box, horrified, trying to claw your way out with your fingernails until they're bloody red, screaming until death finally comes. Well, those fears reached their peaks between the 1700s and the 1800s with the Tallberger safety coffins as the answer, which consisted of a long tube going down into the bottom of the coffin. A bell was attached at the top with string. The string went back into the coffin, attached to multiple parts of the body. And some of these graves are still around today. They would hire someone in the graveyard to listen for the bell, which is now known as working the graveyard shift. So if you woke up in your grave, all you had to do was pull the string and be saved by the bell. Now you know you saw so-and-so, but so-and-so died 2 weeks ago. But still, they look like a dead ringer. Guys, don't blame me for the puns. You can only blame history. Now, letters and journals tells us stories about traditions and strange funerary practices. And one such story was preserved by Colonel Joseph Smith, who came to St.Augustine on a special military assignment in 1823. When he arrived here, he fell in love with the most beautiful woman here in town. Unfortunately for him, she was married. More unfortunately, he found himself attending her funeral services months after they met. She died of a high fever. Because she was so beautiful and so well loved by the town folks here, the parents requested that she be lifted high in a chair and walk through the center of the street so everyone can gaze upon her beauty one more time before her final resting place. Well, Colonel Joseph Smith, he watched intently, trying not to reveal the love that he had for the beautiful woman to anyone. He saw something strange happen. As they passed her body up under a thorny apocanon tree, one of the thorns put a deep gash on the side of the beautiful woman's face, and she began to bleed. Now, all kinds of crazy thoughts went through Colonel Joseph Smith's mind. He thought to himself, the dead don't bleed. Horrified, Colonel Joseph Smith shouted, "Wait!" And he beckoned them to put her down and pushed everybody aside. She's not gone. She's still alive. Colonel Joseph Smith gently pat the beautiful woman on the side of the cheek. Her eyes began to flutter. Then they opened, and she lived 6 more years right here in St. Augustine. Now, Colonel Joseph Smith never revealed the love that he had for the beautiful woman to her, but he spoke of his love often in his journals, and a strange suspicion about that husband of hers. He found evidence that the husband grew strange plants and dabbled in apothecary practices. Colonel Joseph Smith believed the husband had something to do with the wife's death by using strange elixirs, like the one behind your head in that blue bottle. Could you read it out loud for me, please?
Poison.
Poison. Colonel Joseph Smith believed that the husband tried to poison the wife the first go around to the grave. Well, eventually, the beautiful woman, she did die. But she never knew about the love that Colonel Joseph Smith had for her. Neither did she know about the strange elixirs that may have saved her or killed her. A scratch saved the woman in the last story. But a scratch to the wax figures in the next room means nothing but trouble. So please, ashes, ashes, we all fall down. Ring around the road. Pour it on the corner, stop and don't let anybody pass.
I wonder if I should stop singing.
Oh my god.
All right, guys, we have the mummy, the crowd favorite, Freddy Krueger, Frankenstein, the creature from the Black Lagoon, and some other wax figures in here as well. Come all the way in, guys.
I'm creepy. I don't like it.
How many of you like pirates?
I love pirates.
All right, who's your favorite pirate? Yell it out.
I didn't like to go first. Oh. Last time I went first, I got screamed at. Yeah. I swear. I'm about to fight.
How many of you happy anniversary and many more, guys, all right?
Do you have a song for
And chime right in. Before, excuse me. Now, our very loved Bishop Augustine Barreau, he passed away. And because of his good works, his death struck a chord in the community as well as throughout the state of Florida. They decided to prolong his funeral services so that everyone would have an opportunity to attend. Now, how did they travel back then? By what? Huh? Horse and carriage, okay. And he died in the middle of June in Florida. How hot was it? Extremely hot. Normally, a body was buried within 2 days after death because embalming techniques were not perfected. They decided to place Bishop Barreau on a block of ice and sprinkle a little Spanish moss over him to preserve his body. Well, that worked right up until the time the ice melted and we were left with a soggy bishop and a whole lot of holy water. So they decided to place him in an iron casket, sealed it shut with a viewing glass, so everyone could look upon his face without smelling the decomp of his body. The day of the funeral service arrived, and the church was packed to the rafters. In the middle of service, the first 2 rows began to hear this strange sound, like a hissing and a popping. Can I get this side of the trolley to hiss for me? This side of the trolley, pop, 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 pop. The hissing got louder. The popping got louder. Until bang! Bishop Barreau exploded out of the coffin, and everybody screamed. What happens with our mouth when we scream?
Open.
They're open, that's right. And little bits of fish rained it down in the mouths of the first 2 rows. Tastes like chicken. Church's chicken.
Church's chicken.
They had to send some highly paid professionals back in there to clean up the rest of those bits and pieces. They placed them inside another iron casket, welded shut, and cover it with cement. They wanted to make sure he didn't escape this time. And they buried him in the back of the Talamato Cemetery, 50 feet away from where little James rests in peace. I know this story is kind of hard for you to believe, but you have to remember, embalming techniques were not perfected, and those gases built up on the inside of that casket, and the viewing glass was not strong enough to withhold those gases. Therefore, we had snap, crackle, and pop. Now, there were some other skeptics that didn't believe that Bishop Barrow had such a memorable funeral. They came to St. Augustine in the 1970s, some church officials, to investigate for themselves. They exhumed the body of Bishop Barrow, and guess what they found? Pink, moist, and fleshly, bits and pieces that had not decomposed for over 100 years. Yes, they placed him back in his casket, reburied him, and now Bishop Barrow, he rests in pieces. Now, how many of you been to Harry's restaurant here in St. Augustine? Did you guys enjoy the food?
Yeah, I was told not to go in the bathroom.
Oh, yes. Well, that is that little thing there. But for those of you that haven't been, maybe this next story will motivate you to check it out for yourselves. Before it was Harry's restaurant, it used to be the home of a little girl named Catalina de Perez. She was about 10 years old. Catalina and her family was forced out of their home by the British to move to Cuba. Catalina, being a little girl, could not understand why she had to leave a home that she grew up in and loved so very much. So she made a vow that one day she would return and reclaim her home. If you look to your left, you'll see a red and green building. That's Harry's restaurant. About 21 years later, Catalina did return to St. Augustine with her husband. She began to petition the governor for the home. It took her about 5 years before her petition was granted. She began to restore the home back to her childhood memories, but fate was cruel, and she died 6 years later. Now, many believe that Catalina still lives there at Harry's restaurant. They have seen her full-body apparition come down the staircase, walk between the aisles of the restaurant, move towards the door, and then she vanishes. 2 reported incidents happened in the upstairs ladies' restroom. Many believe that area is so paranormal because it was her bedroom area when she was a little girl. One woman claims that she was in that upstairs ladies' room and she was making up her face. And all of a sudden, a heaviness came upon her so great, she couldn't shake it. She became afraid, ran downstairs, shared with the manager her experience, and vowed never to go in that restroom again. Another woman also reported that she was in that upstairs ladies' room and she was on her cell phone. She admits that she was using some foul language. Evidently, Catalina didn't like it and slapped her side of the face. The woman ran downstairs and showed the manager the handprint that was left on the side of her face. A few years later, a male apparition joined Catalina there. They don't know who he was or where he came from. They believe he just died there in the home. What we do know is that Harry's restaurant is making believers out of a lot of skeptics. We are now going to the most haunted building in St. Augustine. Did you know that the old jail is on the National Registry for the most haunted places, along with the most haunted buildings in America? Some of the most popular paranormal researchers come to St. Augustine every year just to spend a night with our ghosts. And some of the evidence that they found in photographs, videos, and sound clippings were overwhelming. One particular sound clipping we received from George Lopez Paranormal Academy. We're going to play it for you. I want you to listen carefully and tell me what it sounds like to you. Anyone?
Sounds like come here.
Come here. It said there are only 8. There are only 8. Listen again, please. first heard it, we said, okay, cool. But after more investigation, it was discovered that there were only 8 documented hangings that took place at the old jail. Mr. Flagler made the jail look like a hotel at first glance. The prisoners at the jail had to endure some horrible conditions like overflowing toilet buckets, unwashed men, rats, roaches, mosquitoes, flies, bedbug, headlights, you name it. Everything on the outside came on the inside. They had to work the most disgusting jobs in the city, like on the chain gang and in the sewage, and they only took a bath once a month. Their diet consisted of beans, a few greens they grew in the garden, and some grits. Now imagine all that going on, some unwashed men and beans. Not a good combination. They say the conditions were so horrible that a shank in the back was better than to endure the conditions that were at this jail. They didn't have any electricity or running water, so when they did take their bath, they filled up a tub full of water and everyone had to take a bath in the same water. And the women were the last to go in. Now when I heard that, I said, shank me now! Because they say that shank was better. Now, this is a historical building. There are no elevators. We do have to go up a flight of stairs and come down a flight of stairs. If you have difficulties with stairs, just let me know. Now, just because they pulled those dead bodies out of this old jail doesn't mean that those feelings of anger, hate, and rage just disappeared. But they seeped into the walls of this old jail. And now you're getting ready to go in as prisoners. Now during that time period, the jail was first built in 1897 and last used in 1953. At the time, Sheriff Perry was the sheriff during that time, and he was about 6'3" and wore 300 and something pounds. He was married and had a wife, and the children and the wife also lived here at the jail. They had a living quarters above the office there. And we go back around, I'll point it out to you. Now, because the jail was overcrowded back then as well, the paddy wagon right here to your right was one of the wagons that they used to take half of the prisoners out on those dirty jobs, and then they would stay out there at least 3 weeks at a time, and they all would pack up and they'll pack it up to the rim, and they would do everything in that wagon, sleep, eat, and everything else. Then they would bring those prisoners back, take the other half out. The only thing they had to eat during that time was a hardtack, and they had some coffee. They needed the coffee in order for them to eat the hardtack, because they had to dip it. It was so hard. All right. Now, guys, looking forward. Do you guys see the noose? I think it's lit there.
Yes.
Yeah. Isn't that neat? A pink noose. Now, if you're looking towards the jail, on my left, that's the living quarters upstairs for Sheriff Perry. You'll get, when we get closer, you'll see it. Downstairs was his office. On this side, upstairs was the main population of prisoners. Downstairs to the far right, there are 3 windows. That's maximum security. That's where we are going, death row. Now, windows to this side of the downstairs, that is the kitchen where women would prepare the food there for the prisoners. When we get in there, I'll show you how they would send the food up to the prisoners, to the maximum, the main population, and maximum security. They couldn't come out. Once they go in there, they couldn't come out, so they had a little chute that they put their food in as well. So when we go inside, now, when we come up here, guys,
here, they miss the finest parts about this place. So, on behalf of me and my boon companions, I'm going to tell you about all 8 of our hangings. So y'all get to know us.
Yeah.
Personally.
Sounds like a good time.
So we're going to start with that little madman right there. No, not you, him. Y'all see that man in the center holding them flowers? That man is none other than Sim Jackson himself. Just a moment before he swung. That big fella next to him? That's the sheriff. Joe Perry, another madman. And boy, would he get angry anytime somebody took one of these here Kodiak pictures in the middle of one of his executions. But nobody had thought the Sims deserved those flowers or that picture. Not after what he did to his wife. See, two of them was having some sort of an argument with each other. That argument turned into a real nasty fight. We don't know who struck first. Sure know who struck last, don't we? He shut her up real quick. Got that big old straight razor. Right out the throat. Hackety hack, 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 hack. They got caught in her combo and couldn't yank it out. The broken one was left in her throat. Them neighbors came around, found him picking her body up off the floor. Head dangling by a tiny little thread. What a bloody mess that was. You know, his last wish that day was to speechify that crowd. Had been there 500 people out there. He made a grand fuss, he carried on. You know, he told them he'd meet them all in heaven. I don't think he made that. Do you?
No.
Thank you for the stimulating conversation. You'll believe it happened next, though. Y'all see these two boys here looking up at him? One's wearing the bowler hats, those brain doctors from up north. Yankees. They came here to perform a little experiment. Well, that sounded a little sick to me when I first heard about it. Look, try to wrap your mind around this idea. They asked Sims if he could wiggle his fingers for as long as he could in response to questions they wanted to ask him after they dropped him.
Seems logical.
Boy, they dropped him down. He started wiggling them fingers away. They got all excited because they wanted to know how long it would take before he lost his conscious mind. How long was it before he lost yours?
See, I'm here 2 years ago.
Oh, you get revenge later. He wiggled them fingers for 11 minutes. Wasn't it all 30 before he finally gave up living and they declared him officially DED, dead.
I don't think that's how you spell that.
My house, my rules.
Yeah,
DED, dead.
That's fine.
How do you think it feels to hang like that the whole time?
I don't know, probably.
Your body's slowly dying. You're doing everything they can to fight for air. You ain't getting it, and you're gonna remember to wiggle your fingers.
I won the staring contest.
Well, in case somebody here has ever been hanged before, I'm gonna assume nobody has been yet.
Never
Let
know.
me-
Somebody's learning to wear shit.
Talking from personal experience.
I don't know.
Let me explain to you what it's like. Welcome to death row. You're all standing at a doorstep. That means move. Thank you. See, first, they make you build your own death trap itself. And gallows out there. Then, you gotta sit in there and gape out that window what you just built for an entire month before you know them come up. That day, they take your hands, they bind them together, real tight. So afraid you might try to run off or do something wild. Woo! Yeah, they point guns at you from every direction. Make sure you drop that day. Now, there are some fellas here, they get a lot of courage, and they say something grandiose with their final words. Most fellas say nothing at all. Like old Steve Johnson. Steve just asked his best friend to carry my shoes to my wife. Have her bury them in my honor, because she can't afford to bury my body. Those shoes haven't got there, though. I guess his friend just didn't really have the hot to tell his wife thought about old Steve. Not much. I got them shoes upstairs, you don't want to go see them.
Yes.
What y'all doing looking at my feet for? I ain't wearing them. That'd be sick. You can wear them now, wouldn't you?
Oh yeah.
Sicko.
Oh, yeah, it's not a little bit.
Mary, go ahead and make your way around that table. All the way around it.
Yeah, check it before we sit. Is it okay if I sit?
Go on, all the way around it, not in front of it. All the way around it, or sit down. Here they are. Just like I told you. You see, Steve Johnson knew he was guilty. The state was justified what they did to him. I mean, that's why his wife wanted nothing to do with him. Not after that killing spree, going and killing all those folks. That's why he had nothing to say at David's execution. But the two men who hung with him, they had plenty to say. That's right, triple hanging, May 30th, 1912. Last one this town got to watch. I guess after watching three bodies drop together on the same day at the same time, the townful kid just kind of lost his stomach to watch hangings anymore. The names are Eugene Baxter and Tom White. Those two brutally attacked a local Jacksonville store owner by the name of Isaac Silverstein and his entire family. The bruised and broken bodies out in the middle of the woods. They actually demanded their hanging be carried out here next to old Steve. Because they knew it would be done quicker here. Because they knew what jail was like in these parts. They all got what they deserved, though. Even on that last day, Tom kept on whining and crying. If I never run into Eugene, this never would have happened. I wouldn't have to die. Okay, that was a lot easier than they said it was going to be. But right now, I'm going to take a moment and tell you about somebody you'd be glad you never ran into.
All right, where the crap are they?
George Hawkins. See, George was a dark man with a dark mind. You didn't find him in the light. You found him hiding in the shadows. He found the perfect prey. A serial peddler by the name of Charles Joseph, who made his living selling cheap jewelry and trinkets. That peddler found when he was on the road out, he disappeared in fog. George hunted that man. He stopped him, ducking in and out from behind trees, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. He was ready, jumped up on top of that wagon, pulled that big old knife of his out, stuck the man right in the gut, and split him in half, from navel to neck. And then he reached inside and ripped his insides right on out. Because you really don't need those anymore now, do you? And then he used a man's own wagon to bring the remains out in the middle of the woods. He thought he got away with it too, so he fell asleep next to them. But he didn't take into account that while he was sleeping, that horse was going to get mighty hungry. And it wandered back into town, pulling the bloodsoaked wagon behind it, leaving a nice, gruesome evidence trail back to where that man had been robbed and gutted. And you know what? That's a cruel way to die. Even for a peddler. But not everybody here got what they deserved. You know, there's always an innocent man in the jail, isn't there? Always one. Sheriff Perry, you gotta get me out of here! The boys started calling me cutie.
Hey.
Sheriff Perry, I only look like him. You've got the wrong man. Let me out of here.
Sheriff, do I really look like a sword fella? I've done something like that.
There was one man here who didn't deserve his fate. His name was Robert Lee. Robert Lee's best friend, James Kirby, ambushed a man carrying money to go pay his workers. Kirby told the authorities, well, Joe Perry, that he and Robert had murdered the man together because Kirby was a coward. Kirby was afraid to die alone on the gallows back there. He wanted his best friend next to him that day. How's that for best friends? His conscience started bothering him about a month before his execution when his rope started swinging. He went to the sheriff and said, Sheriff, he didn't do anything. He wasn't even there. I made the whole thing up. I lied on him. But it's too late to save his buddy. The sheriff just looked at him and said, those people are expecting a double hanging. I'm not going to let them down because of a murderer's conscience. I'll let you decide who you think the real madman here was. Now, I told you we were going to talk about 8 individuals. We talked about 7. So that leaves 1 left. But not here. I got to get out of here. If you folks are smart, you're going to follow me. I like any of them. I killed a man. Yes, I did. None of you would feel too good in a Davio execution either. So I just finally plumb passed out. Well, the sheriff didn't want to disappoint the crowd that's out here to watch me hang. So they dragged me unconscious out of my jail cell, but they couldn't stand me up straight. You know what that little dog Perry did? Went and got himself a plank of wood and a coil of rope. They tied that plank of wood to my back, and they used that to stand me up. They discovered I was new size, so they put the rope around my neck and they dropped me. That board was the last minute decision, and a bad one at that. All the extra weight of that plank of wood broke my rope, clean in two. So I fell out in the crowd, still attached to the board. Right, you folks are standing right there. Thank you for checking on me. This is very kind of you, but I'm much better now. But I was laying there, all sprawled out, people yelling and screaming, running all over the place. I know, I could hear them. I was awake now. I'm moaning, my neck is broken too. And I hear the sheriff back here yelling at his men. What? He's still alive? Well, go get another rope. We're gonna hang him again. I don't know about you guys, but I don't hang twice for nobody. I knew they'd come back with that second rope, though. I wasn't gonna hang around for that. I lay there and told myself, Self, that's it, you're done. Sheriff, you can't hang a man twice. You ain't doing that no more. Oh, I'm done. Bye.
Let's go.
I thought you were dead.
Yeah, I told you guys I run. Now, because spirits like to attach themselves to certain people, I don't like to take any chances. So, on the count of 3, would you please help me to tell those spirits to stay here and don't follow us home? 1, 2, 3. Stay here and don't follow us home.
Twice! You can do it! Get your ass up! Jeez, that's the same guy!
That might be my wife's fault.
All right, guys, I have some bad news for you.
What?
This is my last story.
Aww.
Well, it's about a brave warrior, an Indian chief, Osceola. The United States decided to make truce with the Seminole Indians after the Second War in 1837. Osceola knew that it was time to make peace, so he marched his men up to Castillo. But when they arrived, they discovered there was no truce. It was all a trick to get Osceola there. They threw him into prison where he became very ill. They assigned the local physician, Dr. Frederick Whedon, to care for Osceola. Dr. Whedon did the best he could, but Osceola's condition worsened. So he decided to transfer Osceola to Fort Moultrie in South Carolina. As they traveled, Osceola died of malaria. And this is where the story takes a bizarre twist. Dr. Whedon requested to be alone with Osceola's body. His request was granted. He went inside with his black medical bag, took out his sharpest surgical tool, and severed the head of Osceola. He covered the deed with a ceremonial scarf. The next day before the burial, Dr. Whedon went inside, unknown to anyone, removed Osceola's head, placed it inside his medical bag, and Osceola was buried without his head, and no one suspected a thing. Dr. Whedon brought the head back to ST.Augustine, placed it on his desk in his office on display. Many passed by, saw the head sitting there, but they were too afraid to inquire about it. It is rumored that Dr. Whedon used the head to discipline his children. When they would misbehave, he would send them to their room, place the head on the nightstand, and close the door for the night. It is also rumored that he had well-behaved children. He must wanted well-behaved grandchildren because he gave the head to his eldest daughter for a wedding gift. She donated the head to New York State Medical School, which mysteriously burned down 3 years later. No one really knows why Dr. Whedon did such a bizarre act. It is speculated that one of his family members died at the hand of Osceola and his men. Was it revenge? It could have been, we may never know. What we do know is that Osceola roams around searching for his severed head. Many believe it's doomed and lost forever, but Osceola continues to search endlessly. Thank you very much. The end.
stopped into a little Barley Republic. It's a little pub. We are definitely getting the hot mess, aka poutine, with the pork belly. Our poutine have arrived. Alrighty, so that concludes our first day of St. Augustine. We have one more day tomorrow, which is going to be Monday. So we had a lot of fun tonight, especially like finding some good poutine.
Oh yeah.
That was so good. So we had like 1 or 2 beers, and this hotel is in the best spot ever. You're like walking distance from everything. It's so close. Like, you don't even need the trolley system. You can leave your car here and it's $10 a day. This place is probably going to be my best and most recommended place for when people come to St. Augustine. So I hope you guys liked today's video. My first real vlog ever with a vacation, everything. Leave a comment below. Don't forget to like and have a great night. Bye.